Welcome, guys, to the Built for Playmakers YouTube channel. I'm your host, Kelvin Hunt. Those of you that liked and subscribed the initial video that I launched a couple days ago, really appreciate it. If you are a FSU fan and you like interesting content that's a little different than what everybody else is doing, make sure that you like the channel, give us a chance, subscribe, and post on social media. Help us spread the word about what we're doing here. Thought I would touch base on the whole FSU ACC deadline. Today was the deadline that FSU was supposed to let the ACC know, yay or nay, as far as if they were planning to leave the conference. And I think right now it looks like that that's not going to happen. And so I thought I would just come in and talk about that because some fans are kind of like listening to some of the media out there, thinking that FSU looks bad because they didn't make a move, so forth and so on. I'm wondering why FSU made such a big deal earlier in the year in February, and then earlier this month, as far as that they wanted to leave the ACC. And it's not like FSU had to make a move by August 15th. I think some of the media, especially those media guys in North Carolina, those North Carolina-based schools. I live here in North Carolina, so I kind of know what's going on here. Those schools know that if FSU leaves, that's pretty much going to be the first domino of this conference. Disintegrating pretty much. So I think they're just trying to make FSU look bad. Just posting crazy bias stuff on social media when it's clear why FSU wants to leave this conference. But there's a lot of moving parts to this whole deal, and it's one of those things where if it was as simple as, hey, we can just pay the money and bounce, they would definitely do that. But it's one of those deals where you have to get people that don't work for you to work for you, so to speak, because you have contracts involved, and it's not like the Big Ten or the SEC could just say, hey, come on over here, we'll take you, when FSU is under contract with the ACC and ESPN and all that good stuff. So basically, this is the way to look at it. Whenever we were talking earlier this year, all the media guys were like, the grant of rights is ironclad. There's no way that FSU can do anything. They're not going to leave the ACC. There's nothing they can do, so forth and so on. I mean, basically, they just made it sound like FSU had no options whatsoever. But as we've kind of gone through the year, I think you can see that FSU's been doing their due diligence. And also, let me talk about that too. The last time the FSU rushed into something and didn't do the due diligence, didn't do their homework, it put FSU in a bad spot, and it took a years for FSU to come out of that. And we just now started coming out of that. So look, I'm cool with those guys doing their homework, crossing their T's, dotting their I's, and making sure that FSU is doing things the right way. Because this is the thing, even though they're not going to announce that they're going to leave the ACC by midnight, on what's today, Tuesday. As long as they leave within the next, if they left within the next 4 years, I would put money on it that they're going to leave before then. But as long as they leave within the next 4 or 5 years, that's still way earlier than any of the ACC media, North Carolina-based guys would have thought, right? And so, FSU can, there will be a gap in that time frame. Like I said, I expect FSU to leave earlier than that. But if they waited, let's say 4 or 5 years, there would be a gap as far as the revenue between ACC schools and the SEC and Big Ten. But it still wouldn't be too crazy to where FSU couldn't compete. But that's the thing. FSU is putting themselves in a position so that they can leave and they don't have to wait 13 years until 2036 to leave this conference. And so that's what you have to remind yourself of whenever you're looking at this thing, from a whole macro point of view. As long as FSU is able to get out of this conference, and also, if they did wait a couple years, then that decreases the amount of money that they would have to pay, so forth and so on. And then ultimately, FSU has, they could raise the money, pay the buyout, the grant rights deal, and all that. And if by chance, FSU leaves, then say Clemson leaves, UNC leaves, then that could just start a domino effect, and you may not even have any ACC schools, left to pay money to. So you have that. I mean, there's so many ways that this cookie could crumble, but I just thought that it was in our best interest to kind of look at it from a whole and understand that just because the FSU didn't announce that they're going to leave, it's not the end of the world. It's a good thing that they're taking their time and that they're doing their due diligence, so that they can make this move and do it the right way. And they're going to have a home. I know you have some little rival schools out there. Your Wake Forest and NC States, and some of those fans, all those North Carolina based schools talking about or some of the national media talking about FSU may not have a home, and what if they don't have a home? And look, man, the FSU is one of the most valuable properties out there when it comes to college football. And I know some report on Bleacher Report, which that's a joke in and of itself. We're saying that the SEC and the Big Ten was passing on ACC schools, or they weren't interested, and blah 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 blah. But listen, these guys, as far as Michael Alford, the president of FSU, the board of trustee members, they're not gonna be making this much noise without having some action happening in the background. And if we look at everything as a whole, since Michael Alford has become the athletic director, I mean, when has he not delivered? Right? I wrote about it on Chop Chat, as far as finding funding to add extra support staff to Mike Norvell's football staff, to the football only facility, to all of the upgrades to all of the other Olympic sports. I mean, the guy knows what he's doing. And I think now that FSU has the administration all in lockstep with one another, they're working together to make sure that they do what they're supposed to do to make this thing happen. So, you're going to hear all types of things out there as far as, especially from the North Carolina media, talking about, all they were bluffing and they're not going to do anything. They don't have a home and yada yada yada. And then they're going to point to that they've been terrible for most of the last 5 or 6 years, and we've beaten them 2 times in a row and blah 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 blah. But listen, FSU about to shut all that up this year. I just put it on Chop Chat a few minutes ago. ESPN released their top 100 college players in the nation. FSU has more players on that top 100 players list than any school in the ACC, more than any team that they're playing this year on their schedule, more than LSU, more than Clemson, more than Florida, more than Miami. Matter of fact, Boston College and Duke have more players on that top 100 list than Miami and Florida. And Florida doesn't have a single player on the top 100 player list. So a lot of people are asking, why is FSU ranked top 10? And, they didn't beat anybody last year. And like I said in the previous video, guys, FSU brought back a ton of talent. They got some of the best talent from the transfer portal. And, they're going to be in a position to make some noise. And I'm really looking forward to this LSU game. That's going to set the tone for the beginning of the year. And if FSU goes out there and takes care of business, I don't really see any other teams giving them any issues, as long as no injuries or anything pop up. So so just remember that, like I said, whenever you see this stuff out there on social media coming up, just take it with a grain of salt. Just talk smack to those guys, let them know that, hey, we're gonna give them that work this year on the field, and hey, we'll just let our talking do go on the field. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, if you found this information entertaining or informative, make sure that you subscribe, like this video for me, and share it to with all of your FSU fans. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys next time. Go Noles.